It's up to them, it's their right. It's not our right to interfere. But if you're worried about people being forced to wear burqas, or walk down the streets in Blackburn, in Burnley, in Oldham, in Manchester, over the way in Bradford, you'll see more and more of them wearing burqas, because it's not a religious duty. You don't have to do it. It's not in the Quran. It's their way of saying, we're here, we're outbreeding you, your government's paying us to take over, and we are going to fly the black flag of Islam over your number 10 Downing Street. We're going to run your country. But over our dead bodies. No way. Never in our life. And we're going to deal with that not by taking on the Muslims, because they just do what they do. You can't blame them for coming here and taking our taxes and having lots of kids at our expense. You can't blame them for wanting a better life for their kids and coming here to get it. It's the politicians who've let them into this country. It's the police who let them, the drug dealers. They're not all drug dealers. The drug dealers, the racist thugs, the ones who seduce our girls when they're 13 and 14. They don't represent their entire community. Their community could stop them, but the people who should stop them are our police and our courts, and the people who should be talking about it are our politicians, our masters, and they don't. So they're the ones we've got to beef with, not the innocent, ordinary, decent Muslim community, not even the criminal scum in that community. I've got to beef with the police for not going in and rooting them out. So it's not about who does and doesn't wear the burqa. And then why else do they say, oh yeah, we've got to go there because otherwise they wouldn't have secret and free and fair elections. Well, do you know that in Manchester, in the recent Iraqi and the Afghan elections, they set up polling stations so that refugees, who in the case of Iraq, the war's over. Why don't they all go back? Yeah. They came here because of Saddam Hussein. He's been dead years. Every last one of them should be back, helping to rebuild their country, and not poncing at the expense of our taxpayers, courtesy of our government. But they set up polling stations so that they could vote in our cities in their elections. And the utter scandal of Afghanistan isn't just the bodies, and the broken bodies, and the boys coming home legless, armless, eyeless, or with their brains scrambled by what they've seen and what they've had to do. The real, most awful scandal is the fact that the government has so organised the postal ballot system so that the boys and girls fighting supposedly for this country, fighting our cause in Afghanistan, are not going to be allowed to vote in this election. So they can set up polling stations for Afghans and Iraqis to vote in their elections, but our own soldiers aren't allowed to vote in ours. Isn't that absolutely disgusting? So we're going to be getting these points across in the leaflets, in the election broadcast. Firstly, because it'll win us support, and we need power to change these things, to right these wrongs. But we're doing it for one other reason. It's just because it is wrong. It's just because we want to put it right. We haven't spent years arguing against mass immigration to make ourselves popular. We spent years arguing against it and arguing the case for our people in our country because we believe it's right. We're a party of principle. And in principle, we do not believe it is right that a single British mother or fiancé or girlfriend or sister should have to cry tears for a lost boy of 18 or 19 in a war that's got nothing at all to do with us. Because that war isn't about stopping terrorism. It's not about Afghan women's human rights. It's not about spreading democracy to a people who don't want democracy. It's about building a pipeline called the Tapi pipeline from Tajikistan through Afghanistan, through Pakistan to India. Because the Americans want it, the people who run America want it, because otherwise the gas has to go through Russia, and they don't want gas going through Russia because they want Russia isolated and unimportant. Because Russia finally has got itself a nationalist government. A government of decent Russian people who want to run Russia and Russia's economy in the interests of the Russian people. And good luck to them. But therefore, the people who run America want to use our boys as the foot soldiers in an endless bloody war so they can build this pipeline through Afghanistan. And that's why our boys are in Helmand, specifically, because it goes through Helmand. All the rest of Afghanistan, they're forcing women to wear burqas. They're not letting people have their human right to vote. They're training terrorists, certainly against our boys there. But if our boys weren't there, they wouldn't have any targets at all. We've never been blown up by an Afghan. We've been blown up by second-generation Pakistanis from Leeds, but never by an Afghan peasant farmer. So there's no issue for us there. We simply shouldn't be there. We don't need to be there. We're there because that pipeline has to go through Helmand province. And apart from the fact that people running America want it, so too do oil companies, banks, and construction and steel companies in India. Well, what influence have they got on British politics? Margaret Hodge, my opponent in Barking, her family fortune is based on steel and construction companies in India, and she was one of the ones who voted and pushed to have our boys fighting and dying in a war in Afghanistan that's got nothing at all to do with us. And I think that's vile. Give the British people who agree that it's vile the chance to do something about it on a huge scale on presumably May the 6th by fighting that campaign. And I tell you, we are going to make some impact. Not least because even the people who don't vote for us will come to understand the British National Party isn't just opposed to immigration, isn't just opposed to the Islamification of Britain. We've got other strings to our bows, and in particular that really emotive thing that everybody hates this war and the entire political elite are in favour of it, and we're going to stand up and say we're against it. And no one who's been to Wootton Bassett, even if you went there from a different planet, you had no idea what the issue was. You couldn't come back from Wootton Bassett on any Tuesday or any Thursday and not understand that that war's wrong, that it's futile, that it's absolutely wicked. I've been to family funerals, to funerals of colleagues, comrades, people that you've known. There's Sheila Goodwin from Oldham. So a few Oldhamers here tonight. Do you remember Sheila? Yeah. That funeral was really upsetting. But I haven't been to anything other than really close family, which comes near the pain and harrowingness of Wootton Bassett, even for someone who's not involved, let alone for the families there. And the people of that town have done something absolutely wonderful. The island of Malta was given the George Cross in the Second World War. It's the highest civilian award for gallantry in wartime. I think Wootton Bassett should get the George Cross, because the comfort and support, that that town gives, a very significant emotional and practical cost to itself. It's really harrowing, as I say. You've got people there stood with tears streaming down their faces. Old chaps, women, young kids, and so many of them are local. The support they give, I don't know if the support is of any value to the families, whether anything can be done to help a family who've had their 17, 18, 19-year-old son brought back in a box. I don't know if anything can help them. But you can see it with the friends, the people a little bit further out. They take this immense strength from the people who were there to help. And when I was there, it was a rainy day. And the saddest thing of all, and I don't believe that any politician should be allowed to send any British soldiers into wars, even just wars, until they've been to that place and seen what it actually means in real terms. When you see a girl of 18 or 19 reach out with the hearse with her loved one, stops just by her little group of family in all the crowd, she reaches out with the rain coming down. She just touched the window of the hearse. As the rain came down it and the tears down her face, she just touched the window, because that was as close as she could get to the boy in the box. It really is something. And those bastards have sent those boys, those kids, into a war that's got nothing to do with us, so they can build a poxy pipeline. It's disgusting. And we're going to give people a chance to do something about it.